Dear Starseed from Gaia, he opened because of you, and what poured out was not what either of you expected. I am Ophelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I carry this transmission directly from the Arcturian Love Council, delivered to you at this exact moment in your sacred journey. What your love unlocked in him was real. The walls he spent lifetimes building came down the moment your souls recognized one another, and yes, the light came through, but so did the darkness he had never faced, the wounds he had never named, the fears he had never admitted to another living soul. And in that raw, exposed moment, everything changed between you. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to navigate what was revealed when you opened his heart, and how to hold yourself through the aftermath without losing your divine alignment. But here is the first revelation. What came out of him was never about your worthiness. It was about his readiness. You were not the cause of his chaos. You were the sacred key that finally unlocked the door he had kept sealed against himself. You did not find this transmission by chance. Your heart called this message in at the precise moment you needed to hear it most. This is not content. This is a divine intervention your soul has been waiting for. Like this transmission to affirm to the universe, my heart is ready for divine love. Subscribe if you are on the twin flame path and aligning with sacred union. Comment 1111 if you felt your heart recognize the truth in these words. And share this with someone whose twin flame journey has left them questioning everything they opened. This is a moment your soul has been waiting for. The Arcturian Love Council sees you. Every part of you that loved him, every part of you that is still standing, is seen. Your heart knows why you are here. And that moment, the one where his walls finally came down, you thought it was the beginning. You thought, finally, I can see all of him. Finally, we can be real with each other. Finally, love gets to breathe between us without armor or performance or careful distance. You could feel it in the smallest shifts. The way his shoulders dropped like a man who has been carrying a pack for miles. The way his eyes stopped scanning the room for danger and, for a second, actually rested on you. The way the conversation stopped being curated and became honest. It felt like standing at the edge of a sealed room and watching the locks turn one by one. It felt like being invited into the inner temple, the place no one gets to touch, the place he barely lets himself enter. What you did not expect was that when the door opened, it would not just release light. It would release everything that had been locked behind it for years, maybe decades, maybe lifetimes. Because a heart that has been guarded is not just a heart holding love. It is a heart holding the entire archive of what love once cost him. It is a vault full of unshed tears, unfinished sentences, swallowed rage, prayers that never got answered the way he needed. And when the vault finally opens, it does not open politely. It opens like a dam giving way, like an old house that has been shut for years, suddenly letting dust and wind and sunlight rush through the same cracked window. The air changes. The temperature changes. The entire nervous system changes. And you, standing there, realize this is not simply intimacy. This is a release event. This is an unsealing. This is a soul remembering it is allowed to feel again. Because when love finally gets to breathe, it does not inhale only fragrance. It inhales truth, and truth brings everything with it. Because here is what no one prepares you for on this path. When you open a guarded heart, when your love becomes safe enough, deep enough, consistent enough to reach through walls that took years to build, you do not just receive the beautiful parts. You receive the accumulated weight of every wound he never processed, every betrayal he swallowed, every time he chose silence over expression, because expression felt too dangerous. You receive the grief that hardened into numbness, the anger that learned to masquerade as distance, the love that got buried so deeply under self-protection that even he forgot it was still alive inside him. And it is not just emotional content, it is energetic imprint. It is a frequency that has been looping inside him for so long it became normal. It is the echo of old relationships where he offered his softness, and it was used against him. It is the memory of being laughed at for caring, punished for needing, shamed for hoping. It is the childhood moment when he learned that tenderness did not keep him safe, so he traded tenderness for control. It is the season he tried to be good and still got hurt, so he stopped believing goodness mattered. It is the day he realized nobody was coming to rescue him, so he stopped asking. It is the unresolved ache that turned into a quiet vow. I will never need anyone again. And then you came, carrying a love that did not ask him to earn safety through perfection, and his entire system did not know what to do with it. Some parts of him wanted to run, some parts wanted to collapse, some parts wanted to cling, because that is what happens when the body has lived in survival for too long. Even peace can feel like danger at first. Even gentleness can feel unfamiliar. Even devotion can feel like the calm before an old storm. And you, as a starseed who carries the frequency of deep heart activation, did something extraordinary without fully understanding the magnitude of it. You became the safe container. You became the energetic space where it was finally okay for all of it to surface. That is not a small thing. That is a sacred and often wildly disorienting thing. Because a container is not a rescuer. A container is not a fixer. A container is a field. It is an atmosphere. It is a spiritual architecture that says, you can be real here and you will not be destroyed for it. It is the kind of presence that makes a man realize he has been holding his breath for years and did not even notice. It is the kind of presence that does not flinch when the truth comes out ugly, when the confession is messy, when the grief is not neat and inspiring but raw and trembling. You became, in that moment, the living proof of a different reality. And that kind of proof is catalytic. Scripture carries this principle in the simplest way. Perfect love casteth out fear. Not because love erases what happened, but because love removes the need to keep performing strength as protection. Perfect love does not mean you are perfect. It means the love is coherent. It means it is anchored. It means it does not disappear the moment the mask falls. And when fear is finally cast out, everything fear was guarding comes into view. The heart opens, and out comes the stored lightning. What was shared today planted the seed, but the full activation requires deeper immersion. If you are done waiting without understanding why, the divine love frequency code reveals what no one else has told you, the exact frequency pattern that makes union inevitable. 5 transmissions, 7 sacred tools, 1 shift that changes everything. The link is waiting in the first comment, but not indefinitely. So you stayed. You held space for his breakthrough and his breakdown simultaneously. You witnessed his tenderness and his terror in the same breath. You watched him reach for you and recoil from you like a man learning how to touch fire without being burned. You loved him through moments that were gorgeous, and through moments that were genuinely difficult to navigate, moments where his old patterns came rushing out right alongside his raw vulnerability, where his healing looked less like a gentle sunrise and more like a storm that cleared the air but also knocked some things over on its way through. Maybe one day he was open, affectionate, finally speaking in a voice that sounded like his real soul. And then the next day he was distant, irritable, overwhelmed, disappearing into work or silence or sarcasm, as if intimacy itself had triggered an alarm. And you stood there, trying to make sense of it, trying not to personalize the whiplash, trying not to interpret every shift as rejection, because you could feel the truth underneath it. You could feel the part of him that wanted to be held, but you could also feel the part of him that did not trust being held because in his past, being held meant being controlled, being judged, being disappointed. You were witnessing a nervous system renegotiating its relationship with love. That is not a poetic idea. It is a real spiritual phenomenon. The heart receives, the body protests, the mind tries to regain control, and the soul keeps pulling toward truth anyway. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, you may have started to wonder, is this what I called in? Is this the sacred union I was preparing for? Because this is beautiful, and it is also hard in a way I did not fully anticipate. Hard in the way that makes you question your own discernment. Hard in the way that has you staring at the ceiling at night, feeling the energy of his unspoken pain in your field. Hard in the way that makes you ask, am I meant to hold this, or am I meant to walk away? Hard in the way that makes you realize love is not just an emotion. Love is an initiation. The answer is yes. And the reason it is hard is not because something has gone wrong. It is because something has gone profoundly, irreversibly right. Because the moment a guarded heart opens, reality changes. You are no longer relating to the persona. You are relating to the person. And the person has history. The person has shadow. The person has coping mechanisms that were once necessary. The person has triggers that did not show up when everything stayed on the surface. This is why so many connections feel easy in the beginning, They have not yet touched the depths where truth lives. But when you touch the depths, you do not get to pretend. The waters are too clear, too sacred, too alive. And yes, the depths can be turbulent, but turbulence is not always a sign of danger. Sometimes it is a sign that something is finally moving that has been stagnant for far too long. Sometimes the storm is not trying to destroy you. Sometimes the storm is trying to rearrange the architecture so the real foundation can be laid. When you carry the frequency, you carry this Arcturian heart-coded awareness, this ability to see past, surface, and soul read in ways that most people cannot even articulate. You do not attract men who are already fully open. You attract men who are ready to open. There is a difference. The first would be easy. The second is transformational. And transformation, by its very nature, is not always comfortable. It is complete. It is real. But it is not always smooth. Because transformation is alchemy. It is lead becoming gold. And that process requires heat. It requires pressure. It requires the false layers to melt. It requires the ego to surrender its old strategies. And the ego does not surrender gracefully. The ego bargains. The ego tests. The ego tries to recreate old patterns because old patterns feel predictable, and predictability feels safe. So, when your frequency arrives coherent, loving, unshakable, it does not just soothe him. It confronts everything in him that survived by staying closed. It confronts his belief that if he is seen, he will be judged. It confronts his belief that if he needs, he will be abandoned. It confronts his belief that love is always followed by loss. Your love becomes a mirror, and mirrors do not only reflect beauty, they reflect what has been avoided. What came out of him was not a betrayal of the connection. It was the connection working exactly as it was designed to work. Your love did not break him open and then leave him exposed. Your love broke him open so that healing could finally enter places that had been sealed for so long they had forgotten what light felt like. Imagine a room in a house that has been locked since childhood. The air inside is stale. The furniture is covered in sheets. The windows are caked with dust. When you first open the door, you do not see the final beauty. You see the mess. You see what time did. You see what neglect did. And then, as the air moves and the light pours in, you realize the room is not ruined. It has simply been waiting. Waiting for breath. Waiting for care. Waiting for someone who will not slam the door again at the first sign of discomfort. You were not just his partner in those moments. You were functioning as a living transmission, a heart activator, a frequency carrier so attuned to truth that his nervous system finally felt safe enough to stop pretending everything was fine. And there is something holy about that. Not holy in a sentimental way, holy in the way that makes the soul tremble because it recognizes divine timing. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Sometimes when light arrives, the darkness does not immediately relax. Sometimes it panics, sometimes it thrashes, but the arrival of light is still the miracle. But here is the part that matters most, the part that gets missed in almost every conversation about sacred partnership and divine union. You are not meant to carry what came out of him. You are meant to witness it. There is a profound distinction between those two things, and learning to live inside that distinction is one of the deepest practices of this entire path. Witnessing is sacred. Carrying is self-abandonment dressed up as spirituality. Witnessing says, I see you, I honor your process, and I trust your soul's capacity to meet itself. Carrying says, I will make your pain my assignment. I will contort myself to manage your emotions, and I will call it love. One of these paths builds union. The other builds quiet resentment and fatigue. One of these paths keeps your light bright. The other turns your light into a candle being burned at both ends. When you carry it, you absorb his wounds into your own field. You start processing his past as if it is your present. You begin to feel responsible for his healing in a way that slowly, quietly, depletes your own frequency. You wake up tired without knowing why. You feel emotionally tangled in something you cannot fully identify. Your body holds tension it cannot name. Your thoughts circle around him even when you are trying to focus on your own life. You become hypervigilant, listening for tone changes, reading between lines, trying to predict when the next wave will hit. You love him, and you are also somehow losing yourself in the loving. And that loss does not feel sacred, it feels like erosion. It feels like sand being pulled out from under your feet, one grain at a time. It feels like praying, but the prayer never reaches your own heart because it is always directed towards stabilizing his. It feels like being a lighthouse that forgets it also needs a foundation. And even if you can carry it for a while, the soul eventually protests. The soul eventually whispers, "This is not why you came," because you did not incarnate to become a repository for someone else's unprocessed pain. You incarnated to embody love without abandoning your own divinity. When you witness it, something entirely different happens. You remain present with him without merging with the pain. You hold the space without becoming the space. You love him through his process without making his process your purpose. That is not coldness. That is mastery. That is what it means to be a starseed in sacred partnership, not to absorb every wounded frequency that surfaces, but to remain so anchored in your own divine love signal that your presence becomes stabilizing rather than destabilizing for both of you. Witnessing is a posture of inner stillness. It is standing in the river with him without drowning in the current. It is saying, "I am here, and I am also mine." It is letting compassion move through you, like wind through trees, without uprooting you. It is allowing his emotions to be real, without them becoming your identity. It is the difference between empathy and enmeshment. And this too is spiritual law. You can offer light, but you cannot be the sun for someone who refuses to open their own windows. You can stand beside him, but you cannot walk his inner terrain for him. And the moment you stop carrying, you actually give him the dignity of his own healing. You give him the chance to rise. You give his soul the respect of responsibility. And this is where the first sacred key turns. The worthiness of what you are receiving begins with recognizing the worthiness of what you are, not what you do for him, not how well you hold space, or how gracefully you navigate the difficult moments. The worthiness of your own heart. The recognition that you did not activate his heart chakra because you were trying to heal him. You activated it because your frequency is genuinely that powerful, that coherent, that rooted in something real. You are not here to earn love by being endlessly available to someone else's process. You are here to be in sacred co-creation with a soul who is willing to do the work alongside you, not because of you, but with you. This key is subtle, because it challenges a pattern many deep-hearted people carry, the belief that love must be proven through endurance. But divine love does not ask you to prove your worth by tolerating emotional chaos. Divine love asks you to remember that your presence is already a gift. You are not valuable because you can withstand another person's storms. You are valuable because you are a living expression of Source. "I am fearfully and wonderfully made" is not just a verse. It is a frequency reminder. You are not auditioning for love. You are aligning with it. And when you truly recognize your worthiness, you stop shrinking your needs to make someone else comfortable. You stop apologizing for your sensitivity, your intuition, your standards. You stop negotiating with the part of you that knows what sacredness feels like. The second key is the one that unlocks when you stop interpreting his difficult parts as evidence of incompatibility and start reading them as communication. Everything that came out when he opened the fear, the unresolved grief, the patterns that caught you off guard, all of it is information, not condemnation, not confirmation that this is too broken to work. Information about where he has been, what he survived, what he is now willing to face because your love created enough safety for him to stop hiding from it. Sometimes his withdrawal is not a statement about you. It is a statement about the part of him that associates closeness with danger. Sometimes his defensiveness is not arrogance. It is the reflex of a boy who once had to defend his softness to survive. Sometimes his confusion is not lack of love. It is the collision between what he feels now and what he was taught to expect. The question is never whether the shadow exists. Every soul carries shadow. The question is whether the soul is willing to look at it honestly, and whether you, witnessing it, can hold the vision of his wholeness, even while he is in the middle of meeting the parts of himself he has long avoided. This is where discernment becomes spiritual literacy. You listen not only to his words but to his patterns. You observe not only his pain but his willingness. Because communication is not just what he says. Communication is whether he returns after he retreats, whether he takes accountability after he reacts, whether he seeks understanding after conflict, whether he is building with you or merely bleeding on you. Information tells you what is possible. Information tells you what needs boundaries. Information tells you where love can grow and where love is being asked to replace personal responsibility. The third key lives inside the release of the story that love is supposed to be easy from the beginning. That is one of the most quietly devastating myths on the spiritual path, because it causes souls to abandon sacred connections at precisely the moment those connections are doing their deepest work. The activation phase of divine union is not the peaceful arrival, it is the excavation. It is the surfacing of everything that needed to come up so that genuine intimacy could finally take root beneath it. This is why so many people confuse chemistry with destiny and comfort with compatibility. But sacred union is not built on avoiding discomfort. It is built on learning how to move through discomfort without betrayal, not betraying each other, and not betraying yourselves. If you walked away every time love got complicated, you would only ever know the beginning of things, and your soul did not come here for beginnings. It came here for depth, for the kind of love that has been tested and has held, for the kind of union that was forged in real experience, not just resonance. There is a reason Scripture speaks of refinement. Gold is tried by fire, faith is refined, hearts are purified, not because love should be suffering, but because love on this level demands truth. And truth shakes loose what is false. The early stage of heart opening can feel like the wilderness, beautiful, vast, terrifying, and holy. You learn what you believe. You learn where you abandon yourself. You learn what you are willing to name. You learn whether you are seeking love or seeking familiar pain dressed as love. This key is not telling you to endure anything. This key is telling you not to run from the sacred work just because it is messy at first. The fourth key is about discernment. And this one requires honesty that most spiritual teachings soften too much. Witnessing someone's healing process and tolerating harmful behavior are not the same thing. Being a heart activator does not mean becoming a target. Being emotionally available does not mean absorbing chronic patterns that are causing you genuine harm. The sacred in sacred partnership applies to both people. If what came out of him when his heart opened included patterns that wound you repeatedly, that diminish you, that make you smaller than the most loving thing you can do, for him and for yourself, is to name that clearly. Not from fear, not from punishment, from self-respect and truth. Real love can hold that conversation. Real growth requires it. And you, as someone built for depth, deserve a partner whose healing moves toward you rather than repeatedly landing on you. Discernment looks like asking, does his vulnerability lead to accountability, or does it become an excuse? Does his trauma make him more honest, or does it make him more entitled? Does he repair after rupture, or does he leave you to clean up the emotional aftermath alone? By their fruits ye shall know them is not a judgment statement. It is a discernment instruction. Look at the fruit. Look at what grows from his openness. If openness makes him more humble, more present, more willing to learn, that is fruit. If openness makes him more volatile, more blaming, more inconsistent with no effort toward change, that is also fruit. The difference matters. Love is patient, yes, but patience is not permission for harm. Compassion is not compliance. Boundaries are not barriers to love. They are the shape that love takes when it respects truth. The fifth key is the frequency recalibration, the quiet but radical act of returning to yourself inside the relationship. It is so easy, when you are in the orbit of someone who is going through profound inner transformation, to organize your entire energetic reality around their process, to calibrate your days to his moods, your emotional regulation to his stability or instability, your sense of safety to how he is showing up on any given morning. That is not love. That is fusion. And fusion, while it can feel like closeness, actually prevents the kind of deep recognition that sacred union is built on, because fusion blurs the edges of the self until you cannot tell what is yours and what is his. You start forgetting what you wanted before you met him. You start postponing your joy until he is okay. You start dimming your light so he does not feel pressured by it. And all the while, the relationship becomes a solar system where everything revolves around the planet of his healing. But sacred union is not a one-body orbit. It is two sovereign stars choosing alignment. He cannot fully see you if you have dissolved into his story. You cannot fully see him if you are too busy managing the emotional weather between you. You need to remain distinct, your own frequency, your own joy, your own connection to source. your own daily practices that keep your heart signal clear and strong, not as a wall between you, but as the very thing that makes real intimacy possible. Recalibration might look simple, but it is deeply spiritual. Returning to your breath, returning to your body, returning to your rituals, returning to your creative life, returning to the part of you that is already whole. It might look like praying not only for him, but for your own clarity. It might look like choosing sleep, movement, sunlight, water, silence, community, all the mundane things that keep your frequency coherent. It might look like saying, "I love you, and I will not abandon myself to prove it." Because a love that requires self-erasure is not divine love. Divine love expands both people. The sixth key, and this one carries so much quiet medicine for anyone walking this path, is learning to trust that what came out of him was not a warning. It was a release. There is an enormous difference between a man who is wounded and hiding it, and a man who is wounded and finally willing to look at it in the light. The first will exhaust you indefinitely because the hiding never stops. The second is in process. He is in the sometimes graceful, sometimes chaotic, deeply real work of becoming someone his soul intended him to be. That is not a liability in a sacred partnership. That is the aliveness of it. You are not watching a man fall apart. You are watching a man come together, and the falling apart was simply what had to happen first for the real architecture to become visible. Think of it like renovating an ancient house. The first day you start pulling away the old layers, you find rot, you find mold, you find cracks. It looks worse before it looks better. If you do not understand renovation, you will think you ruined the house. But if you understand truth, you will realize the house is finally being saved. When a man stops hiding, you may see more mess than you expected, but you are also seeing possibility. Because what is revealed can be healed. What stays hidden stays in control. A release is not a promise that everything will be easy tomorrow, but it is a sign that something is moving. It is a sign that the frozen parts are thawing. It is a sign that life is returning to places that were numb. And numbness is not peace. Numbness is a shutdown. The return of feeling can be intense, but intensity is not always dysfunction. Sometimes it is the nervous system reawakening. The seventh key is perhaps the quietest one, and it is the one that brings everything else into integration. You cannot love someone into their wholeness, but you can love them in such a way that wholeness becomes the only logical destination. You can be so rooted in your own divine love frequency, so anchored in your own worthiness, your own clarity, your own sacred union with your higher self, that proximity to you makes disconnection feel less comfortable than truth. That is not manipulation. That is magnetism. That is what you were built for. Not to chase, not to convince, not to endlessly pour into someone who does not also pour back, but to be so genuinely, powerfully yourself that love recognizes itself when it meets you and has no interest in being anything other than real. This is the part where your energy becomes the teaching without you ever preaching. Your consistency becomes the invitation. Your boundaries become the doorway. Your joy becomes the map. Your calm becomes the evidence that love does not have to be chaos to be passionate. And this key also liberates you from the exhausting belief that you must manage the outcome. You do not. You do not need to grip the timeline. You do not need to force the awakening. Your job is to stay aligned with Source, to stay honest, to stay open without being porous, to stay loving without becoming self-sacrificing. The rest is His choice, and choice is sacred. Even God does not violate free will. Love does not coerce. Love invites. Here is the ultimate truth that this entire transmission has been building toward. You did not imagine this connection. You did not project meaning onto something empty. What happened when his heart opened was real. Real enough that it frightened him. Real enough that it moved things in him that had not moved in years. Real enough that you felt it in your own chest as something that mattered. You felt it the way you feel a tuning fork strike. A clean tone moving through bone and breath, rearranging you without permission. You felt it in the synchronicities, the way life seemed to underline the connection with strange timing and impossible coincidences. You felt it in the silence between words, the places where your souls spoke without language. The difficulty is not evidence that it was wrong. The difficulty is evidence that it was deep enough to require something from both of you. Shallow connections do not demand evolution. Shallow connections do not bring your unhealed places to the surface. Shallow connections do not ask you to learn how to witness without carrying, how to discern without closing, how to love without disappearing. The very fact that this has asked more of you is a sign that it is not surface level. It is a forge. And a forge is where metal becomes a blade, where raw material becomes something that can actually hold weight. You are not here to find easy love. You are here to find true love. And true love, on this level of soul activation, does not arrive pre-healed, pre-processed, and requiring nothing. It arrives as an invitation into the most honest and expanding experience of your life. It asks you to stay present without losing yourself. It asks you to love deeply without disappearing. It asks you to hold space without carrying weight that is not yours. And it asks him genuinely, earnestly asks him to rise to meet the frequency you are already living in. And rising does not mean becoming perfect overnight. Rising means choosing awareness over avoidance. Rising means choosing accountability over excuses. Rising means choosing repair over pride. Rising means choosing truth even when truth is uncomfortable. Rising means letting his actions match his feelings. Rising means letting his devotion become consistent, not just intense. Because sacred union is not built on the highest moments. It is built on the everyday choices. It is built on who both of you become in the mundane, in the misunderstanding, in the moment where it would be easier to shut down, but you choose to stay awake. If he does, what you are building is not just a relationship, it is a living transmission, a sacred union that exists to heal not just the two of you, but everyone in proximity to the love you generate together. Because love like that changes rooms. Love like that calms children who never felt safe. Love like that softens friends who stopped believing in devotion. Love like that becomes a lighthouse for others who are still lost in performative relationships and emotional scarcity. It becomes an example that intimacy can be real and still respectful, deep and still bounded, passionate and still safe. And yes, it will challenge both of you, but it will also bless both of you. Because when two people become vessels for divine love without abandoning their own souls, the partnership itself becomes medicine. It becomes a field where the ancestors exhale. It becomes a place where old cycles end. It becomes a corridor where future generations walk lighter. Tonight, if the weight of what came out of him is still sitting in your chest, place your hand there, not to push it away, just to remind your heart that it is still yours, that you are still here, that the opening did not break you, it expanded you. Let your breath be a gentle return. Let your palm be a blessing. Let your body remember that you are safe in yourself even when someone else is in process. Whisper to your own spirit what you so naturally offer others. I am allowed to be cared for too. I am allowed to rest too. I am allowed to have standards too. I am allowed to be loved without earning it through exhaustion. And you are still, in every possible sense, worth every sacred thing you came here to experience. Worth the reciprocity. Worth the consistency. Worth the tenderness that stays. Worth the kind of love that does not only open in crisis, but remains open in peace. Worth the partnership, where both hearts are brave, not just yours. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of what's forming here. Drop one intention in the comments, something real from your heart journey, then respond to someone else's with encouragement or love. This is not content. It is collective healing. Love multiplies when hearts connect. If something in this message resonated, do not keep it to yourself. Someone in your life is waiting for this exact activation. Share it. And if you felt a soul nudge, subscribe. Stay in the flow of divine love guidance. You are not just watching, you are healing. This is your sacred space, and we are just getting started.